Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio, where we provide actionable health information on a week-to-week basis that can help you improve your life. Feel free, head over to justinhealth.com, where we have various opt-in video series on more in-depth health topics such as female hormones, thyroid, and gut health. Also, while you're there, feel free and schedule a consult with myself, Dr. J, and or my colleagues. We're available worldwide to provide natural health support for any of your major health issues. Again, welcome to the podcast and enjoy the show. Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Really excited to chat with y'all today. We got Evan Brand here in the house. Evan, what's cooking, my friend?
Oh, not much. We cooked some bacon and some pastured sausage earlier, but nothing is cooking at the moment beyond that.
Awesome, brother. Well, I know we were chatting about topics that for today's podcast in the pre-show, and glutathione was one of these topics that kind of came to mind based on challenges that we're seeing with our patients, based on things that we're seeing in our comments section on our pages. And we decided glutathione will be a great topic for the show today. So really excited. Let's just start off the day. What is glutathione? So glutathione is a tripeptide. What does that mean? Tri means three. Peptide means essentially amino acid. And there's three amino acids that make up glutathione: glutamine, cysteine, and glycine. Those are the big three: glutamine, cysteine, glycine. Now, really important because these are all amino acids, sulfur-rich amino acids. And you're not going to find a lot of these amino acids, by the way, in plant-based products. You're going to find them mainly in animal-based products. Sulfur amino acids are much more rich from animal than you do plants. A lot of plant-based products tend to be lower in sulfur amino acids, and you actually have to combine them to even get them appropriately, right? That'd be like rice and beans, right? Because they're missing certain aminos, so you got to combine them just right. So glutathione, really important. Tripeptide, glutamine, cysteine, glycine. Glycine, very, very high in bone broth and collagen, right? Cysteine, very high in a lot of high-quality animal products. Also whey protein, okay? And then glutamine's obviously in a lot of gut healing supports. Glutamine's really important for the gut lining. Glutamine can also be more inflammatory too if you don't have enough B6. It can go down glutamate pathways without B6. So we also want to make sure we're getting enough B vitamins, and we'll talk about glutathione metabolism, and we'll talk about some of those pathways and what nutrients are needed to maximize glutathione and healthy glutathione metabolism besides just those tripeptides, glutamine, glycine, and cysteine. Any thoughts, Evan?
Yeah, I think it's all excellent. I look forward to breaking it apart more. Now, how do we measure glutathione? One way is we like to look at organic acids testing. There's not a direct marker that says glutathione, boom, that's your level. But using some of the metabolites that you can measure in the urine, you can get an indicator of it. And we know that when people are exposed to toxins, whether it's mold or heavy metals or pesticide, herbicide, whatever it is, you're going to be reducing your glutathione levels. And as you mentioned, people that are on veggie-based diets, they're probably going to show up low. And so we can measure that on the oat test. Are there other ways that you know of to measure glutathione, or is that what you use?
So yeah, the big ones like you mentioned are going to be the pyroglutamate, the sulfate, and the alpha-hydroxybutyrate. Those are going to be some of the best ways to test it on the organic acid. Those are precursors to glutathione and a lot of the sulfur nutrients, cysteine, glycine, glutamine. Those are big, big ways to do it. So when you look on the organic acid section, it gives you about 5 different organic acids that are very, very helpful at looking at glutathione. The big 3 are the ones I just mentioned. I'll pull up a couple others that I use as well that are more on the precursor side for glycine. So glycine is another big one because that's really important for glutathione as well. And there are others that look at glutathione and then the cysteine and the glutamine on top of that. I'll pull that up in 1 second. So organic acids are great. There's also a red blood cell glutathione that you can do. Doctor's Data does it. I think SpectraCell does it.
Have you ever done it, or do you run it, or do you think it's not worth it if we're doing the oat?
I think if you already have a good look at the oat, there's 4 or 5 markers on there that you can elucidate from. So I think the oat's fine. But if someone has a chronic condition, chronic detoxification issues, I don't think it's a bad way to just kind of give it an extra look-see, especially if you're struggling on the organic acids, or if the organic acids look good but you're still having some detoxification issues. I don't mind running it. A lot of times I'll run an ion panel with some of my patients, which will come with an organic acid, and a intercellular nutrient blood test as well. So it would be on there and then also be on the organic acid. So that's a way to kind of get a package deal on it and kind of get 2 for 1, if you will.
Yeah, I love the combos. Love the combos. Yeah, so like you mentioned the like vegetarian sources where people are going to get sulfur to boost glutathione. I mean, that's going to be the cruciferous stuff. This is why you and I will use some of these like broccoli sprout extracts. There's some kale sprout extracts, things like that. There's different greens powders, and there's some encapsulated products that we use. And I've used them with children where if they weren't able to swallow or they couldn't stomach like a encapsulated glutathione or maybe a liposomal they didn't like the taste, and some of the broccoli sprout extracts tend to work pretty good. Totally.
And on the organic acid, just to highlight, sulfate and pyroglutamate are the big ones for glutathione. That's really big. And then the other ones are going to be 2-methylhyperate will really look at glycine. And then the glucarate also looks at glycine. So those are some of the other ones that can be ultra helpful.
This is why oat test is like, I don't know, desert island. You only have one test to choose from between like a DNA stool and an organic acids. Oh man, it's tough. I mean, some days I go with the oat over the stool as my only test if I had to pick one.
Well, it can be helpful because you get a good window into yeast and fungus, which can be really helpful. So that's really nice. And then also we can talk about glutathione, the different conditions that are associated with. There are other nutrients that help you recycle glutathione and that are very helpful in the healthy metabolism of glutathione. And we have a nice handout here I'm going to pull up so you guys can see it. I think it's going to be very helpful. I'll pull this up here for you guys to see. So there's a bunch of different conditions that are associated with low glutathione. Everything from aging to Alzheimer's to cancer to chronic liver, cognitive issues, cystic fibrosis, diabetes, hypertension, any immunodeficiency and chronic viral issues, lupus, mental health issues, multiple sclerosis, neurodegenerative issues, Parkinson's. I mean, this is like through the freaking roof. It's unbelievable, the association with other conditions. And it's not saying this is a direct cause. They're just saying, hey, they test a lot of people for glutathione, and they just find this chronic association with these issues. Now, I would say there's definitely going to be a causation link there for me. It's hard for research to say that. It takes a while for research to do a causation thing. You got to do a metabolic ward. You got to really take people in, give them low glutathione, take people out, give them some glutathione, study the difference. It's really hard. Metabolic ward studies are tough. So you have to kind of look at more of associative studies versus metabolic ward that really give you the causation. Let me show a couple things here for you guys to see. Let me pull this up for you guys. Okay, can you see my screen, Evan?
It's loading. Yep, there it is.
Okay, cool. So these are a bunch of the conditions here that are associated with low glutathione, and then there are the links here so you can actually see the scientific studies, right? Alzheimer's, the emerging role of glutathione in Alzheimer's disease, right? You can see diabetes. Glutathione synthesis is diminished in patients with uncontrolled diabetes. This is really important. And again, this is the article right here I wanted to highlight. It's called A Review of Dietary Phytonutrients for Glutathione Support. It's in the journal Nutrients, September 2019. So pretty fresh study. But this pathway here, I really wanted to highlight for everyone. I think this is super important. I'm going to get this just the right size. Does that look good to you?
Yeah, it looks perfect.
Okay, cool. So let me kind of highlight a couple of things that are happening here. So people that are listening, we got a video on screen so you guys can actually see the different pathways and how glutathione gets into the cell and works. So you have your three major amino acids. You have cysteine right here, which can come from N-acetylcysteine and can get converted from cysteine to cysteine right there. You have glycine, right, very high in collagen and bone broth. That's why I like to do my 20 grams of collagen in my coffee every morning. Okay. And then you have your glutamate or glutamine inside the cell. So outside the cell, these are the big two amino acids. And then inside the cell, you have your glutamine that gets conjugated here. Now, also outside of the cell, look at the green vegetables, right? The brassica vegetables, the high cruciferous vegetables, some of the polyphenols like green tea are very important in this glutathione to conjugate it. Basically, it helps conjugate a lot of these foreign chemicals. Xenobiotic means foreign chemicals. Xenobiotics could be xenoestrogens. They could be neurological things from pesticides, right? So basically they're going to be chemicals that are far into the body that are a stressor on the body. This can help with glutathione to GST and conjugate. Conjugate just means binding a protein to it, typically so the body can excrete it via the stool or the kidneys or urine, right? Now, inside...
Let me point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, here's the thing. You mentioned that big list of conditions. So it would make sense why cancer would be associated with low glutathione, because this pathway you're showing, if you've got a buildup of all these toxic chemicals and hormone disrupting chemicals, whatever, if that pathway's screwed up, I mean, it sounds like you're going to end up sick. So it's not that, like you said, it's not causation, but that pathway could be, if I were somebody like focusing on an anti-cancer regimen, I mean, this pathway here would be a huge piece of the puzzle.
100%. And this GST stands for glutathione S-transferase. And they're actually making drugs that are glutathione S-transferase in nature. So this GST is very, very, very important in excreting toxins and crap outside of the body. And we know this too, like a lot of the things we may use on the brassica vegetable side, we may do broccoli sprouts, we may do sulfur-rich compounds like DIM, which is diindol methane, or we may do indol 3-carbinol. These are all going to be sulfur concentrated compounds. We may even do things like calcium deglucarate, and these can help improve this glutathione S-transferase pathway. Any comments there, Evan?
That's a trip. I'm trying to figure out I would love to learn about that. You're saying they're using or they're making prescription drugs to work on this pathway?
Yeah, so let me see. I can pull it up here on screen for you. So
That's crazy.
Here's one study right here. Can you see this right here?
We're still on the image. We still see the image of the pathways.
Okay, let me just pull this up here. This is an older study, but I like to just show people what's going on so they can actually just see it.
Because if they're going to make a prescription, here's what they're going to do. They're going to jack up the price 1,000x to do the same thing that NACE or
can you see it now?
Anything else would do. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can see this, the role of glutathione S-transferase in anti-cancer drug resistance. So it seems like this may be helping a lot of the cancer drugs work better. So they're talking about glutathione S-transferase are a family of phase 2 detoxifying enzymes that help catalase. Catalase is a glutathione-dependent enzyme. And it basically helps, when I say conjugate, that means bind a protein to it, a variety of endogenous and exogenous toxins. So endogenous means toxins that are made by your body. Exogenous means toxins that come into your body. So think of mold and pesticides as exogenous. Think of maybe yeast overgrowth or bacterial overgrowth and those toxins being produced like acetaldehyde maybe being endogenous. Does that make sense?
It does. I actually found something on this. I'm looking on this drug website. And I actually found out here that for chemotherapy, doses of 1.5 to 3 grams of glutathione have been given in a 15 to 20 minute time period right before a chemotherapy treatment.
Totally makes sense. Yep, totally makes sense. So I'm trying to go down to the conclusion of this one study here. I haven't gone through it yet. I'm just trying to look through this here. All right, cool. I'll have to go through this here later on. But, I mean, it just shows you how important glutathione is with detoxification, cancer, and then also we can talk about the immune system, right? There's the reason why that page had immune issues, AIDS, and viral issues as being a low glutathione issue because glutathione has a major, major role in immunomodulation and immune balancing. Any comments there?
I just wonder where this conversation's happening in an oncology office, though. Hey, we need to boost up your glutathione. I want you to eat broccoli sprouts and take some extra NAC and vitamin C and some of the stuff we're going to get into. It's like, where's that happening? I mean, maybe in a holistic oncologist office, but I feel like your conventional guys, it's still just the chemo model. It's not going to be anything like this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. If you're, cancer doctor out there, then let us know who you are, what you're doing. We'd love to hear about it.
I mean, the problem is people on the pharmaceutical side or conventional medicine side, their perspective when they look at things is, how can we make a drug that modulates this pathway or interacts in this pathway? The problem is once you start making a drug, you're forgetting why these pathways are low to begin with, right? Hey, diet issues, digestion issues, stress issues, exposure to toxins, right? So they're forgetting why these pathways are low to to begin with. And then number two, anytime you make a drug, you can't patent Mother Nature. So you can't patent the actual glutathione building blocks. You have to do isomers or different substrates that look similar but may not be the real deal. And the problem is once you start deviating from Mother Nature, all drugs have what, Evan?
They have side effects.
Side effects.
It's like the designer babies. It's like, oh, let's play with these genetics. We're going to make this baby have this color hair and this color skin and whatever. It's not what nature intended.
Exactly. So once you start doing that, then you have an increased risk of side effects. And because you can't patent Mother Nature, that's the problem. That's the big issue. You can't patent Mother Nature. Therefore, you have to go and create compounds that are isomers that look similar. They may work a little bit, will never work as good as the real thing, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of side effects.
Yeah. Let's get back to that first paper that you and I have pulled up with the graphic on it, because we wanted to go through some things that have been shown to help with this whole glutathione. People think just pop glutathione pill and that's the end of the day, but and that's true. You can do that. You could do your oral, your sublingual, your liposomal, your intravenous glutathione, but there's other things along the way they can help, like NAC is a game changer.
So let's work from the top and go down, okay? So we talked about what's happening outside of the cell, right? We need cysteine, we need glycine. These are really, really big pathways. We talked about maybe some of the sulfur compounds in the vegetables. We hit that, right? Now inside, if we go to the top of this cycle and work our way down, you can see folic acid, or we'll just call it folate, okay? And you can see THF, this is tetrahydrofolate, and this goes to MTHF, right? Everyone talks about methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, right? MTHFR, right? So you need folate, B vitamins, and then you're also going to need B12, betaine, which is trimethylglycine. So these are important nutrients that are needed so this pathway can go around. And essentially, when you have an MTHFR issue, this pathway up here, this enzyme is lower. Therefore, you need more of these nutrients here to run this pathway. And of course, not folic acid. We need activated folate, whether it's folinic acid or calcium D-folate or LMTHFR folate. We need activated folate. And then you can see here methionine gets stuck as homocysteine if we don't have enough of these nutrients. And we know homocysteine can create vasculature inflammation in the vasculature, right? It's associated with heart disease. You can go look at the research of Kilmer-McCulley over at Harvard. And we need enough of these nutrients to take methionine to go to homocysteine and then go all the way down to cysteine down here. So then you can see cysteine's a really good sulfur amino acid. Cysteine then binds with glutamate or glutamine, okay? And then you can see cysteine and glutamine go downstream to actually make glutathione. And guess what else you need? Well, if you look at some of these nerve pathways over here where, you know that multi-level product called Protandim, right? It's got a lot of the phytonutrients, the green teas. Ashwagandha fits in this category. A lot of bioflavonoids like resveratrol, vitamin E, omega-3, and guess what? Magnesium. So these NRF2, which is really important for binding that cysteine to the glycine and making glutathione. Magnesium is really important as well. And then you can see glutathione also is very selenium dependent. So glutathione gets utilized in the body. It needs B2. And then also when it gets reduced, to reduce glutathione, it needs vitamin C and lipoic acid to bring it right back up and to recycle it. So if we don't have enough vitamin C or lipoic acid, which is a sulfur component, we may not recycle our glutathione. And then selenium is very important too, because selenium helps take the metabolism of glutathione. It spits out a lot of hydrogen peroxide right here, H2O2. And selenium actually binds an oxygen off and makes it water. So it actually helps the metabolites of glutathione that are very inflammatory, H2O2, and it turns it into water. And then we use a lot of these phytonutrients as well to buffer that oxidative stress.
It's beautiful. It's amazing how that happens. So you and I have talked about autism and behavioral issues and detoxification issues and all that, and how it's related to MTHFR defects. So what we're kind of showing here can show how just simply improving the methylation component of this picture can improve detox, because methylation helps with detox on its own, but you see the mechanism downstream of glutathione. So this is why some kids that we work with, even just by improving methylation, and as you mentioned, we'll give them like an activated, LMTHF or something similar, that will clear up some of the mood issues. That will clear up some of the skin. It will clear up dark circles under the eyes. I mean, just improving methylation alone could be a game changer. My favorite part of this whole picture is the vitamin C, because in this paper that you and I were looking at, it was shown that even just taking 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C for 13 weeks, so what's that? Give it 3 months or so, led to an 18% increase in glutathione levels.
Wow.
So that's such low-hanging fruit. You and I are such huge fans of addressing the low-hanging fruit. I mean, how much easier can it get? You're boosting glutathione 20% just by vitamin C.
I love it.
And I'm rounding up. It said 18, but I'm calling it 20. I mean, it's close enough.
I wanted to highlight this one study here so you can see it too. It kind of just dovetails with everything we're talking about. I want to just make sure that makes sense. Let me just pull this up screen here so you guys can see it.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to just keep ranting about other nutrients. So, yeah, I just pulled up selenium. I want to say one thing about that real quick. So, selenium, it was found that glutathione increases just by giving selenium as well. So I'm not saying spot treat, but let's say someone had a thyroid issue and we're like, hey, you really need some extra selenium. That alone could be boosting glutathione. So it's really, really cool.
And the nice thing is when we're looking at patients, we're testing all these nutrients because, of course, yes, it's going to help. But if you're deficient in one nutrient over the other, that nutrient could be the bigger linchpin for supporting your glutathione, right? Now, this study I thought was really important because one of the major mechanisms of glutathione and how it works with cancer is it modulates the immune system. Better immune system, right? It controls cancer cell growth, right? What's cancer? Just cells growing out of control. And then it helps with oxidation, right? Oxidation is when you lose electrons, and cancer is very oxidative. It causes a lot of loss of electrons, which then creates a lot of free radical stress and damage to the DNA and to the immune system. So really powerful abstract here. Role of glutathione in cancer progression and chemo resistance, which means resistance to chemotherapy. It talks about glutathione plays an important role in the cellular process, including proliferation and apoptosis. That means cells growing and cells dying. So it helps cells so they don't grow too much until they die sooner. That's good. We need that. Then it talks about while glutathione deficiency or decrease in glutathione ratio leads to an increase in susceptibility of oxidative stress. What does that mean? Translation, you lose a lot more electrons, and that creates free radical damage in DNA, implicated in the progression of cancer. Elevated glutathione levels increase the antioxidant capacity. That means it helps you take electrons that you've lost. It helps bind to them and stabilize the cell. And resistance to oxidative stress observed in many cancer cells. The presence highlights the role of glutathione as a cytoprotective. That means it protects the cells from being damaged. Carcinogenic means the formation of cancer, so it protects cells from being inhabited by cancer, and the sensitivity to tumors to the cytotoxic agents or the cytotoxic effects of anti-carcinogenic agents. So what that means is it's going to protect you from getting damaged by chemotherapy, and it's going to protect you from the cytotoxic effects of chemotherapy. So that's kind of the layman's translation as we go. So what's the moral of the story? Glutathione protects you from the damage of cancer. It protects your cells from growing into cancer, and it protects you from the damage of chemotherapy. So 3 ways it's very beneficial.
That's amazing. And not that this was the Glutathione Cancer podcast, but hey, I'm sure everybody listening would agree that you don't want cancer. So, of course, you can't say glutathione prevents you from getting it, but man, it's an incredibly protective molecule.
100%. Evan, can you see me back on screen now?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. I think we hit that one really, really well. Let's keep on rolling, though, if you don't mind. So we talked about that pathway, which I thought was really helpful. We'll put the links down below so if you guys want to see it. Why don't we talk about some of the big foods? So glutathione, right? Cysteine, glutamine, glycine. So now we just back into it. What foods are really high in cysteine, glutamine, glycine? Well, of course, things like whey protein's going to be great. As long as you're not ultra dairy sensitive, whey protein's great. Sulfur-rich foods are going to be helpful, like a lot of your brassica cruciferous vegetables, right? Bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, kale, mustard greens, turnips. Again, the problem is that's not going to really help you with a lot of the intercellular glutathione, but it's still going to be helpful. Now, what other foods that are more high in some of those intercellular nutrients? Well, you're going to see all of your high-quality animal products, beef, chicken, fish, eggs, all of these things, the higher quality the animals are, meaning the less hormones, the less junk, the less toxins, the more they're fed high quality grass, the more nutritionally dense they're going to be.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of like food data sheets. So in one large egg, you get almost 150 milligrams of cysteine. And who knows if that's even, I mean, that could have been a conventional egg. I mean, what about like a fully pastured organic egg? You may even get more cysteine. You're talking almost, I mean, if you do 2 eggs, you're at 100% of, even over 100% of your daily intake for cysteine with 2 eggs.
Love it.
Sunflower seeds, and a handful, a 1 ounce handful of sunflower seeds, you're at over 100 milligrams of cysteine. Hemp seeds, you get a ton from hemp seeds as well. So like, let's say you did a smoothie in the morning where you put in some collagen with maybe some hemp seed or maybe some hemp protein added to it, maybe a grass-fed whey. I mean, you're going to be stellar in the glutathione generating department.
Love it, 100%. So your animal products are always going to be the best way to go off the bat just because of how high they are and how nutrient dense they are. Also, when you look at amino acids in plants, you have to look at the digestibility of the amino acids. There are certain scales you can look at that look at the digestibility because plants have a lot of anti-nutrients that bind a lot of these amino acids up. Because plants don't have claws and teeth to fight or flee. So how they survive is they have anti-nutrients, which makes some of their nutritional compounds harder to break down, which means they pass through the stool and then they can grow seeds and flourish in other parts of the soil. So they have to have anti-nutrients so they can pass other animals' digestive tracts, right? Animals just have claws and teeth to fight and flee. Plants don't. So there's a lot more anti-nutrients that prevent some of the digestibility, whether it's mineral blockers like phytates and oxalates, whether it's trypsin inhibitors that help decrease proteolytic enzymes so their proteins can't be digested, whether it's lots of hard-to-process fibers. All those things are potential and could play a big role in those amino acids not being fully absorbed.
Well, here's a couple other things, too. So in that paper, they've got a table on there that talks about preparation of the sulfur-rich vegetables, and apparently freezing of broccoli does reduce the sulfur. And then, of course, if you are eating it overcooked, you're likely going to... It's like a sweet spot, right? Because we've talked about this before, nutrient density of raw versus lightly steamed. So lightly steamed is going to be the way to go, but if you cook too much, then you've broken it down that way. If it's frozen broccoli, then you're already at a disadvantaged state. So it sounds like it's just too difficult. I mean, I'm not saying that veggies aren't important. I still eat a ton of veggies, but if I'm looking to increase glutathione, I'm not just going to be doing a broccoli smoothie. I'm going to be focused on the whey and the collagen. And also, here's an interesting one. Number 1 food for methionine, king crab. 1 crab leg, you're over 700 milligrams of methionine. It's the number 1 source. So if you like crab out there, there's a reason to like it because of the methionine.
Love it. I love it. I think that's really, really awesome points. So a couple of kind of deal breakers, let's call it. Low stomach acid. If we don't have enough high quality stomach acid, it's going to be hard to break down a lot of these sulfur-rich compounds. So of course, that's going to be a big, big problem. So if we don't have enough stomach acid or enzymes, we're not going to be able to digest a lot of those animal products. And also a lot of the sulfur-rich vegetables, let's be real, a lot of them are very high in FODMAPs, right? Fermentable oligodisaccharide mono and polyols. So guess what? If you have SIBO, guess what kind of response to those vegetables you're going to have? Probably a lot of bloating and gas. They may even disrupt motility. They may even cause diarrhea or constipation. So you may not really be able to tolerate much of these vegetables. So a lot of people that are like on a carnivore template, a lot of times they have SIBO and a lot of autoimmune sensitivities, and they're really sensitive to a lot of the anti-nutrients in these plants. So a lot of people kind of come down on people that are doing a carnivore template, but the reason why they do it is because they feel significantly better because of the anti-nutrients and because a lot of times there's some SIBO going on, and cutting out those fermentable carbohydrates or even going carnivore can help starve out some of those critters too. So very important.
And let's point out, that's not forever. I mean, if somebody's on a carnivore template, we're using that to stabilize those people until we can work behind the scenes on these other issues like the infections you mentioned.
And we may be able to add some other things down the road for sure. So a lot of your vitamin C rich vegetables are going to be awesome. A lot of the sulfur ones, a lot of the lower sugar fruits are going to be awesome. Those are going to be great things to do off the bat. Of course, we talked about your selenium rich foods as well. Animal products, oysters, seafood, high in zinc, high in selenium. Brazil nuts can be excellent as long as you can tolerate the nuts. Very, very high in selenium. We talked about the stomach acid and the enzymes as being a rate limiting factor because of the fact that they need good acid levels and enzyme levels to be able to break them down. I'd also say, we talked about this earlier, vitamin D is really important for glutathione in the brain. Can you talk about that a little bit, Evan?
Yeah, so I think the best way to talk about this and implement it is through the nebulizer. So there was a couple papers talking about increasing glutathione in the brain. I don't have it pulled up, but long story short, I've looked into this. I've done it over the weekend. I will tell you, I get more energy. I get more mental clarity. Honestly, I feel relaxed. I mean, it's almost like I snuck in a little bit of GABA powder into my nebulizer or something, because after breathing in the glutathione, I just felt relaxed. Now, maybe it's because I was like focusing on deep breathing and such while I was breathing it in. But I looked at a couple papers on the administration method. So just eating glutathione orally, meaning in a capsule form, liposomal, doing foods to increase it, versus IV versus nebulized. The only way to get it in the brain is nebulizing. We're talking at therapeutic levels. Now, does some of the glutathione made in the body get into the brain? Probably, but we're talking if you want to just crank up brain power. Let's say you had a traumatic brain injury. Maybe you had a head injury, or you're an athlete or a soccer player, or you fell off a bike, or you fell down a set of stairs, or you have mold, because we know mold damages the brain. To me, nebulizing with the sodium bicarbonate and the saline solution, it's a miracle cure. So I can't say enough good things about it.
No, I love it. I think it's really, really important. I wanted to highlight a couple more things that I thought were also very important. Let's talk about supplements. So we talked about a couple of things when we reviewed that glutathione pathway that you guys can see the video on. Alpha-lipoic acid is very important in recycling glutathione. Also, milk thistle is a really good tonifier and does help support glutathione levels as well. Vitamin C is really important, right? That helps with reduced glutathione and help activating it again. That was also very, very important. We talked about.
Here's one thing.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Here's one thing I forgot to mention. This was in the paper, so I kind of went on a tangent on the nebulizer. But in that particular paper you and I were discussing, I was wrong. It is true that you can increase. At least this was in rats. So is it the same in humans? Maybe. But by just giving an IV dose of NAC, they were able to increase glutathione in the brain. So what about oral NAC? Does that increase glutathione in the brain? I don't know. But at least in that paper, IV NAC did boost brain levels of glutathione.
That's great. Yeah, I imagine over time those amino acids will eventually cross. I know sometimes the amino acids cross the blood-brain barrier, and then the glutathione is converted in the brain. I think glutathione may be too big to cross the brain itself. I know some of the amino acids like cysteine, I know L-cysteine can cross the blood-brain and can then convert to glutathione in the brain. So I know cysteine's a big one. I don't think NAC can, but L-cysteine can.
You think just because it's smaller?
Yeah, smaller, because NAC gets broken down into cysteine by the body. And some people, they say just take cysteine, because I know cysteine's very important with adrenaline. And we know adrenaline's a really big nervous system amino acid, right? And we know dopamine actually gets converted to adrenaline, and we know dopamine to adrenaline, that pathway involves sulfur, in particularly cysteine.
So I wonder, I'm just thinking out loud just for my purposes, so I wonder people that are having issues with anxiety, if they would be able to reduce their anxiety by boosting up that pathway, working more on sulfur.
Sulfur can be really helpful. Now, in my line, I have a product called Detox Aminos that will have some cysteine, some N-acetylcysteine, some calcium deglucarate, which is a really good binder for mold and for hormones, methionine, cysteine, taurine, glycine, so all the amino acids, which is really helpful. I like that a lot. I'll also do a lot of the phase 1 nutrients, a lot of the antioxidants, a lot of the B vitamins, milk thistle, those kind of things for phase 1 support. Right? Phase 1 is taking toxins that are fat soluble and converting them to water soluble. Phase 2 is going to be water soluble excreted out the body, and that involves lots of sulfur, all the amino acids I just mentioned. And with some people, we may do a combination of liposomal glutathione. We may do S-acetyl glutathione. There's another glutathione that has these little bucky balls. Can you talk about that too?
Oh yeah, I love the acetylated. Yeah, so there's a couple out there with the bucky balls that basically the idea is to try to just shrink the molecular size of it, so you can kind of sneak it into the cell. So you've got the liposomal where you're going to do like a sunflower, and then you've got this bucky ball idea. Now, I don't know if it's a carbon molecule, if this is the same thing as the C60 you and I have been talking about, or what.
Right.
But there are ways to make glutathione smaller. For me, I just look at the papers on it, and the acetyl version is the one that I believe you have your own. I have my own as well of an S-acetylated glutathione. I've had people doing here. This is just a quick little debate. I've had people doing various versions of liposomal glutathione and liposomal vitamin C, and I've measured them, and many of these people are still low on the oat test for vitamin C and glutathione. So when we switch them over to like an acetylated and then just a mixed ascorbate, I see the levels come up. So it's not that I'm against the liposomal glutathione, but I'm just finding that the acetyl works just as good, if not better, and it's capsule, because the liposomal generally tastes like crap, or if you've got a really sensitive person, there's going to be citrus oil or some other flavoring to cover up the terrible glutathione taste, and then those people don't tolerate it, and then they're not compliant, and then they don't get better.
100%. Yep, I totally agree. So right now, I use a lot of liposomal, but you still do the S-acetyl, and you still get good results with that clinically?
I do, yeah, it works great, and I feel good on it. So I've done an experiment on myself where I'll go liposomal for a month, and then I'll go acetyl. I feel just as good. Now, it could be because my acetyl version has a gram of NAC added to it. So I'm kind of cheating because I'm really getting the NAC plus the glutathione. Yep. So maybe that's why I'm getting so much better. Oh, so while you were talking, I just did a quick search on studies on glutathione and anxiety, because you brought up this whole dopamine endorphin thing, and this is not for the podcast, but really more just brain candy for me. Turns out, yes, there's a link between glutathione and anxiety, and bumping up glutathione has been shown to reduce depression and anxiety. So there you go.
I think a lot of that has to do with the catecholamine, the dopamine synthesis in the brain. So I think that's really, really important. I know Dr. Marty Hins, I think he's over at Neuroscience or Neuroresearch, he talks about how sulfur is very important for synthesis of serotonin and dopamine and a lot of your adrenaline. Over time, you will deplete it, especially when you get stressed and you're taking a lot of your dopamine and you're converting it downstream to adrenaline. You will be depleting a lot of your sulfur. Now, what does this matter? So this matters because the more stressed you are, the more sulfur you deplete, which means you'll have less sulfur left over. So now if you're stressed and now you're exposed to toxins, or you're living in a moldy home, you can see how stress can make everything worse, because now you have less glutathione precursors to help you in that situation.
Yeah, speaking of stress, I've got a paper in Nature right here. It was called, I'll give you the link in case you want it, in case you want to show anybody, but it was called Glutathione Depletion, Mitochondrial Dysfunction Induced by Chronic Stress. And I don't know, this is a rat thing, so you know how they do with rats. They do something to them to stress them out. But long story short, stress in this paper had reduced glutathione, brain glutathione, by over 35%. So it would make sense why glutathione would help with depression too, because you think about the toxicity. I mean, heavy metals and such, those can impact neurotransmitter function. You can get depressed just from being toxic. So by reducing the toxicity, you're less depressed. I mean, I think that's really cool.
Exactly. Now, a lot of people are asking, well, where can you get the nebulized glutathione? Right now, the TheraNatural site is sold out, but justinhealth.com/glutathione would be where you can find that. That's the TheraNatural site. If not, head over to evanbrand.com or justinhealth.com. Just put glutathione in the search, and we have some of our own sulfur-based compounds that we use and the liposomal-based compounds we use. So feel free to reach out to us. We'll put pertinent links down below for you guys as well. And then outside of that, just really make sure you have good stomach acid levels, because you need good stomach acid to break everything down. And then we also talked about, the animal products. If you're vegan, vegetarian, try to get some animal products in there, even if it's egg yolks or if it's a little bit of fish. Do your best on that and just try to make it healthy. And then really look at B12 and folate. You're not going to get enough B12 on the plant-based side. you really need animal products to get B12. So if you are really plant-based, you need to make sure you're supplementing with the high-quality methylated B12 and maybe some activated folate just to be safe, because you need folate and B12 to run those glutathione pathways.
Let's just do like a quick 30-second recap, because those with brain fog are like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Do I go like swimming in a pool filled with glutathione? What do I do? So whey protein, grass-fed meats, good cruciferous veggies, probably lightly steamed over raw, maybe some greens powders or greens juices if you just for some reason can't tolerate it, like the broccoli sprouts. I think that'd be great for somebody that can't eat broccoli because maybe they have digestive troubles. And then you could go for some of the extracts, making sure you're doing enough vitamin C, as you mentioned, adequate stomach acid, so making sure you're testing your gut for infections. If you have H. pylori and other infections, you've got to fix your gut. So possibly extra enzymes, possibly antimicrobials, antifungal, antiparasitic herbs to treat the infections, maybe doing an oat test to check in on your overall levels and getting some micronutrient panels run. And then if there's other issues that keep depleting you, then maybe looking into the mold, the heavy metals, and the other toxins that are going to deplete glutathione. That's kind of your recap.
100%. Now, what do you need for sulfur amino acids a day? I would say, 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams on some of the NAC and some of the sulfur aminos. I'll do 1 to 2 scoops, 10, 20 grams of collagen a day. I think it's great. On the vitamin C on the low side, 1 to 2 grams I think is great. If your diet's amazing and you're getting lots of leafy greens and some low sugar fruit, maybe a gram or nothing is probably okay if you're really great there. If not, a gram or two on the vitamin C sides are great. On the liposomal glutathione, if you want to go that road, I think half a gram to 1 full gram is fine. Half a gram on the maintenance side, or if you're just getting sulfur amino acid, that may be enough. But if you're under some stress with mold, a half a gram to a full gram. And if you're dealing with more acute stress, right, a lot of viral issues today can really create stress in the lungs, and glutathione can be very helpful with that lung stress. You may want to go up to 2 grams on the glutathione more acutely. So I think those are a couple of good first things. Go ahead.
Yeah. Don't forget about the NAC too. You and I did I don't know if we did a whole show or if we just kind of ranted on it for a little bit, but NAC in regards to immune health and NAC being very, very protective. So I'm usually at around a gram, but you could go higher, possibly 2 grams per day of NAC combined with that 500 to 1,000 milligrams of glutathione. That is an awesome 1-2 punch. Yeah,
just be careful with the NAC because it's an expectorant. It will dry out your sinuses and your throat a little bit. So it's great if you're really mucousy, but be careful if you're getting too dry. You may want to pull back on it. So just kind of know that NAC is awesome for a lot of the excess post-nasal drip, excess mucus. But if you go a little too much, you may get a little bit too dry in some of those areas.
I can confirm. I haven't had a nosebleed, but when I was going higher, like 2 grams, I was pretty dry. I feel like I could breathe better, though. Man, I tell you, my sinuses felt clean as a whistle.
Yeah, so if you're getting over a cold and you got a little bit of post-nasal stuff going on, NAC should be one of the first things you go to in your medicine cabinet, especially if you got that little bit of a nagging post-nasal drip cough. NAC is the first thing to hit.
Yep, maybe that, some Xlear nasal spray, something like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you definitely the sinus flush with the Xlear, like that's number 1 because you got to flush things up. And then number 2, you dry it up. And then you do those, you're in good shape. Anything else you want to highlight, Evan?
No, let's wrap this thing up. It was fun. And if y'all have further questions or comments, of course, we always want to hear your experiments and your experiences. How did it go? What did you do with glutathione? Did you do like me? And then I called Justin at like 10 o'clock one night. Hey, man, I took like a double or triple dose of glutathione. I got a terrible headache. I remember that. So we're always being the guinea pigs, and that's what we love doing. And we are available clinically. So if you need help, you can reach out to Dr. J at justinhealth.com. We work with people around the world. So justinhealth.com, my website, evanbrand.com. And we'll be in touch next week.
And when we talk about these things, guys, this isn't theoretical for stuff. We see thousands of patients, tens of thousands over our decade-long careers. And we know what works, we know what doesn't. And if you're leaning into glutathione, maybe put a little bit of a binder in there, an activated charcoal, bentonite clay, taken way away from food and supplements, just to kind of soak up or kind of broom up anything that may be orally liberated from your body. So that's kind of a good first step, just to be on the on the alert, and always start low, taper up. Don't ever go over the top on it. Always start low, work your way up. Try to make sure you're working with a practitioner so you have ways to monitor, test, and assess, as well as figure out the best order of operations in addressing your concerns. And if you want to reach out to Evan, evanbrand.com, myself, Dr. J at justinhealth.com, we are available worldwide for support and health consults. And feel free and reach there. All right, guys, if you enjoy it, let your friends and family know. Put your comments down below on what future podcast topics you'd like to hear about. Have a good one, guys. Take care.
I got one final comment on that.
Sure.
I'm so glad you brought up the binder. So this podcast is not designed for people to go, hey, I'm feverishly writing down everything that Justin said. This many milligrams of this. I'm going to go do his protocol. No, that's not what he said. These are just guidelines, okay? Because if you go and you do a gram of glutathione and you've never taken it, you're probably going to get a headache or feel like crap because you're mobilizing things. This thing, glutathione, helps push. I think of it as the push. So when we're talking about a detox protocol, it's kind of a push, catch, repeat. And if you don't have something in to catch it, meaning something to upregulate phase 2, or potentially also in addition, the binders like the charcoal, the clay, zeolite, bentonite, chlorella, whatever it is, you could get in trouble. So please don't just go do a bunch of glutathione. You really got to have some sort of catcher's mitt in place, or just help allow your practitioner to guide you, because you can have too much of a good thing.
Excellent points, Evan. We'll put some of our favorite products down below so you guys can take a peek, and we're here to help you as needed. Evan, you have a phenomenal day. Great chatting with you.
You too. Take care. See you
Thanks.
later.
Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to BeyondWellnessRadio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to BeyondWellnessRadio.com.